Are you a visionary? I'll tell you what, listen up, tag somebody who is. Maybe you are yourself. You're going to find out very quickly. Mark C. Winters, how you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I love this book. I love EOS. I love rocket fuel. We're going to get into all this today. But first of all, for people who are just tuning in, how much of the population are visionaries? I know you shared integrators are more rare, but how much of the population do you think are visionaries? I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean it's pretty small. So you can almost kind of think about the visionary and integrator population sort of clustered together, right?
Mm.
And maybe 1 in 5 is one of those. Sort of to the scale where we look at kind of 80% or higher on the on the crystallizer assessment that we do. And then within that, it's interesting, right? There's sort of one integrator for 4 visionaries. So
Wow.
it's really kind of an interesting composition of the wiring that we have as people.
You know, I shared yesterday, we have an IP podcast coming out soon, but I shared how rocket fuel hit me at a time in my career that was so providential. I was trying to do it all myself, like a lot of entrepreneurs in the beginning. And I think we almost think, well, I can do it all because I have to do it all.
Yeah.
Like most entrepreneurs start out doing the books, doing the sales, and they just kind of pick up all these tasks.
Yeah.
At what point do you think the visionary needs to be like, I'm only going to focus on my thing and I'm going to bring along an integrator?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so there's sort of 2 paths that I see for how people get there. The one is really the entrepreneur that's climbing that entrepreneurial hill for the first time.
Mm.
And just like you said, there's so many things that you sort of have to do yourself because that's all you can afford. You don't really know a different way to do it. And in the process, you get pretty good at some stuff, right? And then as you begin to get to the point where you're building a leadership team,
Mm.
from an EOS perspective, we talk about our target market as businesses that are somewhere between 10 and 250 people, because
Mm.
typically that's when the organization is getting to a place that the founding entrepreneur is not doing it all themselves. They've got some other people around them, and they're actually starting to take those folks and elevate to form a true, what we would call a leadership team. So that's sort of the first place that a visionary would hit it on that path when they're
Mm.
again climbing that entrepreneurial hill for the first time. But what's interesting, Kerry, is I've got clients that I've watched go through the cycle more than once. And so they go through that cycle. They have their first visionary integrator relationship. It's powerful. It does great things for their business. It's successful. They exit. So they sell that business and they're
Sure.
ready to, maybe move on to the next thing. Then they come around to that next business, and guess who their first hire is?
Integrator?
It's an integrator. Yeah, it's I
Love
mean,
it.
because they've got it now crystal clear in their head, and they're like, well, why would I start with anybody else? I'm going to bring in a great integrator first, and then I'll use them or work with them to help me figure out all the other missing pieces that we need to put in place.
So good. I love everything about this book. I love the cover. I love the forward. Gino's a friend of yours and mine. He's amazing. The subtitle, though, how driven entrepreneurs get what they want without doing it all themselves. Unpack that for us.
Yeah, so there's a couple of important questions there. One is this idea of what do you want,
Mm.
and getting clear on that. A lot of visionaries, I feel, are not, and you ask them, and a lot of times they just sort of are maybe doing what others have asked them to do or needed them to do, and
Right.
and what they really want is sort of an afterthought. And so if they spend some time to get clear on that, and we've got a structure in the book to kind of help with that process, many times they'll see that it's not something that they can do alone, right?
Mm.
So they may be trying to do it alone, but a lot of times these are grand ideas, grand plans, things that they want, and so they need to be able to work with other people. And visionaries being a sort of a force of nature, working well with others isn't always easy when
Mm.
it comes to the context of a business. So there's certain structures that we need to put in place to help them know where to push hard and maybe where to let somebody else push hard, so that the whole thing works and is actually going to be effective to actually make these things that they want come into existence.
I love it. Well, we are live on a lot of places. I'm live here on Instagram.
Yeah, wow.
You got people jumping on there, but we have YouTube, we have Twitter, X, we have Facebook. So I think, Mark, that there's going to be some extra prizes. I'm on your email list, by the way. I
Yeah.
highly encourage people to get on that. We'll share a link here in a moment. But what are we giving away? What's a special prize today that we're giving away?
What are we giving away? Well,
I think it was like, was it? Do you know, by the way? Because I saw it on your email.
well, we've talked about it, but
Okay.
maybe you have the list. I know that one of the things that we talked about was a special, really one-on-one call with
Exactly.
me
Exactly.
to kind of for a visionary to talk through and let me get into their head a little bit and see if there's something I can help them with. So that's
I
probably
I
the
think,
biggie.
I mean, that was what I was thinking of, the grand prize, because that thing is legit. Just spending time with Mark over the years, every time I do, my thinking is elevated.
Hmm.
And in fact, that's a whole EOS concept, right? Delegate and elevate.
Delegate and elevate. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, but you have family jumping in. Let's go, Dad. I love this. Austin's here. You got a whole big crowd here. But we're gonna tell people, listen, the way you get entered to win the grand prize is number one, get the book. Okay, so Tanisha's dropping in the links right now. This is a book that you want to get. It will save you time, it will save you pain, but get a book and then just post in the comments, uh, book. And then what we'll do is we'll draw from people here, and Mark's team will come back after the event and kind of like pick somebody. But Mark, what types of pain? Because I really believe nonfiction books solve a problem.
Mm.
What pain is a visionary in?
Yeah. So one of the biggest pains is just the frustration of not being able to see their ideas become reality.
Mm,
And
yes,
right, you've
that
probably
is
felt
true.
that yourself at times, right? I
Oh
think
yeah,
every visionary has. And so for visionaries, coming up with the ideas is that's like falling out of bed. I
yeah,
mean, it's not hard. It's actually super easy. And so
yeah.
they'll have drawers and stacks and drawings and whiteboards and whatever just covered with all these amazing ideas. But when it comes to execution, that's not so easy,
Mm,
and it's not as obvious. And in fact, the interesting thing about that is the fact that they have another great idea coming right behind that one. That's actually the greatest threat to that great idea that they had just started, because they get distracted. Their gaze now turns to the next thing. It's more interesting than the first thing, and so it works against them in that regard. So that really, again, the idea of bringing someone alongside you that is execution oriented and able to kind of drive the details to make that idea come into existence in the world is a pretty big solve. It's a pretty big pain relief. And for the visionary, another thing that they feel is just it's all the frustrations that really anybody has in leading and managing people, where
mm,
people are complex, right? We're hard to deal with, we're hard to understand. And visionaries, again, that's not their gift. I like to tell people that I've managed as many as probably 45 people directly. At the time, I thought I was doing that pretty well.
oh my gosh.
But now I watch somebody who's a great manager and really good at holding people accountable and following up with them. And it's just I was not good at that. I'm on a good day, maybe I'm good for managing one person directly. But if that person is my integrator and they're great at leading and holding the rest of that leadership team accountable, and each of those are great leaders and they're great at holding their teams accountable, then that's what all comes together at scale to
Mm.
allow you to take some of these big ideas and make them a big reality.
Managing 45 people gives me uh, chills, and maybe I've done that in another life because I'm bald. So, um,
Yeah.
but we got a lot of people jumping in. Look at this. Ryan
Yeah, Ryan.
comments book. Andrew comments book. You
All
got
right.
people over on LinkedIn.
Kenza.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
All
saying,
right.
Michelle, I need an autograph. So you got a lot of love here. Um, but let's now unpack the pillars. You
Mm.
got 10 pillars, which I love, the IP, the intellectual property all around that. What are the 10 pillars? What are some of those?
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to kind of ask me some and kind of go from it. Let's start with the first one.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the first one is simply know thyself. And
Mm,
again, what I see in a lot of visionaries is they sort of have ended up here. They've spent a lot of time thinking about their idea. They spent a lot of time thinking about how they're going to, build their business and make this thing go. But they haven't spent so much time really looking internally
wow.
at who they are, how they're wired, what's really driving them. Back to our first point, what they really want to make
Yeah.
true in the world. And it turns out that the answers to all of those questions are super important to being able to discover what the right answers are for how
Mm,
you actually make it happen. We talk about the visionary integrator relationship as one example. So think about the visionary and the integrator as a two-piece puzzle
yep.
that we want to fit together in a very complementary fashion so that we don't have just tons of overlap. We're not just the same, but between us, we don't have lots of gaps where neither one of us is really great at something. We need to just
Mm,
fit together like a perfect two-piece puzzle. Well,
I like
if
that.
I don't understand the shape of my edge of that puzzle, how am I ever going to figure out what the shape is of the other piece of the puzzle I'm looking for? Right. So you've
Wow.
got to do that work. You've got to look inside. And there's some very practical applications of that. But then you kind of zoom out and you think macro, you think big picture. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you need to understand why in the world you want to do this business. This business stuff is not easy. It's
No.
hard. And some days it's really hard, right?
Right.
And so you need to be crystal clear on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, the impact that you're trying to have with this business, and how does it fit in your framework? How
Mm,
does this business really serve where it is you're trying to go and what it is you're trying to get done and what you're trying to make true for yourself? I talk about this concept of unique freedom. And, you and I have talked about this, Carrie, but it's the idea that everyone's definition of freedom is different. And so what my wife's looks like, what Carrie's looks like, what mine looks like, they're all different. And that question led me down a path to try to figure out, okay, I don't know what the heck does my freedom look like?
yeah.
What do I want to be true? And that is in one of the other pillars. I introduce a structure that I call the exponential freedom framework that identifies these 9 domains.
Mhm.
So, interesting story. I did kind of a research project where I pulled all these different lists from gurus that had their 7 things, their 5 things, their 6 things, their 9
Yep.
things, whatever, right? And I put them all on a board and I started moving things around to look for things that seemed to align with each other. This
Mm,
was just a different way of saying that. And so you kind of get these clusters and fit it all together. And what I learned, Carrie, is it turns out there are 9. There are 9 different domains of freedom. And everything that I've been able to come across since then, I did this about 10 years ago,
mm,
fits into one of those 9. So I think it's I think it's a complete model. And so the process you've got to get clear on as a visionary is, all right, what do I want to be true in all
yep.
of those different areas, right? And it turns out there's trade-offs. If I want this to look in a certain way, well, that may limit what I can make a different area look like. So you've got to decide what's most important. You've got to decide how you feel about those trade-offs. You got to paint that picture of what you want the future to look like. And then from that future, you sort of draw a line back to today. And you can get really clear on the practical applications today for what the things are that you can focus on, habits, the priorities, the things that you're doing right now that are
Mm,
ultimately going to give you the highest probability of creating this future that you've decided is important for you.
I love that. Couple thoughts here if you're just jumping in. We are talking to Mark C. Winters about the brand new book, Visionary. He has a grand prize one-on-one coaching. It is a session. It is fantastic. It's worth several $1,000s. And here's the point: you get entered to win simply by getting the book right now and commenting "book" in the comments. Another value add would be share this. Share this, Mark. I'll tell you why I want people to share it. I'm a visionary. It can be a lonely place. Maybe you talk about that. Steve Jobs talked about staring into the abyss and eating glass, is the plight of an entrepreneur. There is some amazing benefits, freedoms that you talk about, but it's also tough. Why do you think this book's going to help people be like, he gets it. I get it.
Yeah. So great. Another great question and absolutely true observation. Many times visionaries feel like they're alone.
Mm,
And just by the nature of the position that you're in, you end up with things that you feel like you don't have anyone to talk about.
wow.
And, some of those things are good things. And if you were to say those things, it's kind of like, oh man, they're going to think I'm bragging and I don't want to come across like
Mm,
that guy or whatever. So you don't want to talk about those. And then on the other end are the really bad things. And that's the
mm,
stuff that's scary. As visionaries, you sort of have a different level of armor that protects you from the scary stuff because
yeah.
you're going to be okay. But these other people around you don't know that.
Mm,
And whether it's the people that work with you, for you, or maybe even your family, if you talk to them about it, the freak out factor can get pretty high pretty fast. and
yeah.
so and so as visionaries, we tend to just kind of hold this stuff in, and that's eats at you. That makes you feel this sense of isolation. It's just it's not a healthy place to be. So in the surround yourself pillar, I identify these different posts, the 7 different posts that are essential to have around you,
Mm,
and not only to have around you, but to have filled with someone who's truly great and can truly support you in that role. And then along with those 7 posts are these 7 forces that come together and are delivered and brought to you by these 7 different posts around you. And that's a whole different kind of fuel, a whole different kind of force that can help
wow.
sort of prop you up and drive you forward, and in a sense protect you from the outside world. I Did you see the movie The 300?
I've not seen that one, but is that about the Greek military?
Right, the
Yeah.
Battle of Thermopylae. So the
Yeah.
Spartans, right? And so great movie if you like that kind of thing. But there's a real famous scene in there
Mm,
where they're gathered, they're about to engage in battle, and the general says the command of shield wall. And so they all drop their shields into a certain formation where together, locked in together, they are able to protect themselves from the attacking forces. And
wow.
that's sort of the picture I have in my
Yeah.
mind of the visionary, where there's all these alligators and bears and hyenas
Yeah.
and whatever. They're just kind of yipping and nipping at you from all different directions. And so you've got to build a shield wall
Mm,
around you. And that's what those 7 posts are. That's what those 7 forces are. And that can make all the difference in being able to survive and continue.
I love it. I know you have a fantastic website with all kinds of cool programs. You is I don't want to ask, but is the new website live or not yet today?
The landing page, yeah. So the landing page for the book is live,
Okay. And that
and
is say it again,
visionarybook.com.
visionarybook.com. And when people go there, they will be able you can see my screen
Yep.
with the new one? Okay.
Yep.
Ooh, I like the colors. So what's gonna happen here?
Yeah. So, I mean, you can go and kind of learn more about the book. And if you scroll down a little bit, obviously there's a place to order the book. This is kind of a cool thing that lets you
Yeah.
dive into the 10 pillars a little bit
100%. Yeah.
and kind of see what's going on there and kind of get a little synopsis at a high level.
That's
Uh,
cool.
yeah. Isn't that kind of cool?
That is very cool.
Yeah. So,
Okay, so there's the 10 pillars, and
and
then
then, just some comments. I've really been fortunate that some of
yeah,
the test readers that I had read this had really, really nice things to say. And there's the
absolutely.
embarrassing picture of me
I get you, I get you.
and just folks that I've worked with. So
Wow.
this is the place to go to
Yeah,
order. And then
yeah,
the more interesting thing is once you order, what I've offered to all the people who buy the book is we
yeah,
have bonuses in the book, right? So they just need to,
so
there's a link
cool.
right on that page. Click that, and we'll send you a link to the secret place you go
Yes,
to get all the different bonuses related to the tools that we begin to unpack in the book. And so yeah,
I
so
love it.
that's what we have going on there.
Okay, so what do you see? I mean, what do you see happening with this book? I'll pull a Dan Sullivan, our mutual coach here,
Yeah.
on you and say, "Hey, you and I are chatting in 3 years," and you're like, "Oh my gosh, Carrie, the visionary. What a great move. Why? What happens?"
So I want this book to truly unlock for the visionary entrepreneur their path to make that freedom, that future that they want, real. And so this is for them. If they've decided that they are in fact a visionary
Yeah.
and they are in fact going to operate in that role, in that visionary role, then this lays out the pathway for these 10 different pillars that they have
Mm.
got to be really strong, really great in each of these different areas. And if they will do that, if they'll commit to that, then they're going to drastically multiply the probability that they're actually going to be able to make this thing work for them and make that true. So, if
I
two or
love
three
that.
years from now, we can say that we've got, 100,000 visionaries that have been positively impact in that direction,
Mm.
by this book, then I would be happy as I could be.
Yeah. Well, you got this tagline in the book too, and it's the 10 pillars of greatness that will make your vision a reality.
Right.
So let's pick a skeptic out here, Mark. Not saying we have
Skeptic. Oh, great.
any on right now, but because honestly, I don't really even see any. But I'm going to ask the question: what gives you the right to say, hey, I know a little bit about visionary because I saw your numbers and I already know the answer. But like for the person who doesn't know you, how many people have you worked with? Like what has been your journey of distilling these 10 pillars?
Yeah, so I've worked with a lot of visionaries. So I mean, it kind of starts with myself. I'm
Mm.
at the point now where I've had 15 different companies that I've either started or acquired,
Wow.
or shut down completely, or sold off, or something, or across all different industries,
Yeah.
and all different levels of success, frankly. So there were some where we made out, we did really well, and there were others where we lost the whole thing.
Wow.
And so I have lots of scars on my body to show for that experience, and lots of questions that I had asked, that I needed to figure out to help myself.
Mm.
There's an old saying that we tend to teach the things that we needed the most, and so this book is really that.
I
So
love that.
as I looked at my own journey, and then as I began to move into more of an advisory role, so it wasn't just me or my visionary friends that I hung out with, but it was people that I began to work with as a coach, as a teacher, as a facilitator for their teams, and lots of different formats, whether it's private coaching, or big workshops, or big talks, or
Yeah.
whatever. I've worked with live and talked with a ton of visionaries, and so these patterns just began to emerge. The common questions, the pain, like we talked about at the beginning,
Oh yeah.
and the missing pieces as we work to solve them, for how we make it come true. And that's where the 10 pillars come from.
I love it. Folks, beauty of this, you got audiobook, you got hardcover, you got paperback, you got ebook. And this is fantastic. I'm an audiobook person. Mark, how was it reading it? Did it come alive in a different way? Are there things that are in the audiobook that aren't in the other one? What do you think?
So great question. And it's been over 10 years since I recorded the audio for Rocket Fuel.
Oh man,
And
10
so,
years.
yeah, so my memory of that was pleasant. It was kind of cool. I got to go to a really nice recording studio, and all that. And so, but that's really all I can remember is, okay, that was kind of cool. That was kind of neat. And so we did this one, and candidly, it was a beating. It was not a beating, but it was a
It's a long
grind.
book.
Yeah,
It's a lot of fun.
it ended up being four 3-hour sessions
Wow.
to get through it. And
Labor of love.
labor of love. And to the audio team's credit, I mean, they are amazing in terms
Mm.
of the ear they have for detail, and being able to go, up, no, Mark, you garbled that one, stop,
Yeah.
back up, read that one again, and whatever. So we got through it, and I think we've got a very very high quality product there that
Amazing.
hopefully people can listen to. I love audiobooks too. I'm like you, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
listen to them fast. So
Yeah.
I typically listen to people at about 1.5x,
Yep.
unless they have an accent, like
Right.
a British accent or something, or they just talk really fast, and I'll back those down a little bit. But hopefully this is at a pace where people can adjust it to their
Oh, yeah.
desired intake. But it's all in there, so everything's in there. We've got the visuals that
Mm.
if you get while reading the book, we're actually putting them up on that resource page,
So
so that
good.
they'll be able to get those, and have a complete experience, and do all the work on themselves, so they can get strong in these 10 pillars along with everybody else.
Well, I'm going to be in the room in Chicago tomorrow with 50 Visionaries at Strategic Coach. You bet I'm going to be talking about this book. Folks, I think this is the book that we need to really come behind, not only selfishly for ourselves, which great, get in order, get in alignment, but every visionary I know hangs with a group of other visionaries. We do tend to flock together. And so you're actually going to be helping out a friend, a fellow visionary, because you nailed it. Like getting what you want is huge. I think it's Tony Robbins who says like all pain in life is result of lack of progress. Like if you're a visionary and you don't feel like you're making progress, it's a big weight. So Mark, as we land the plane, I know you shared kind of the big vision of the book, but let's take somebody right now who's like literally in pain. They're a visionary. They're thinking maybe even today they woke up and said, should I quit? I don't know. This thing might be too tough for me. What hope does the book provide for that person?
So the way I think of it, Carrie, is it's a path. So you find yourself on one side of a canyon, and you look across, and all you see is the chasm, right? This big thing that you too far to jump.
Yeah.
It's not obvious how to get from here to there. And so what I was really hoping to lay out in the book, and I think we've done, is step here, step here,
Yeah.
step here.
Well, that's good.
Step here. And if you will follow this path, it's worked for others, and it can work for you. So that's the hope. There's a way. You're not alone. You're in pain. Right. In fact, I got an email this morning from a woman who, I can't share it, but it brought tears to my eyes. Honestly.
Wow.
And she's like, I don't know why I'm writing this, but the message just resonates so strongly with me. I'm in this place right now, and she's struggling. She knows she has a good idea. She wants to get it, but she just keeps hitting these walls and hitting these walls. And the bottom of the email was, "This is giving me hope." And I look forward to a day when I can write you a letter, when I can tell you how this was able to unlock me and allow me to make my vision a reality. So that's the point. That's why I do what I do, because I have a great appreciation for those people. They're out there in the arena doing the thing.
Yep.
And frankly, entrepreneurs are the answer to most of the problems that we face. So
amen.
Let's help them out. And
I agree with that.
Get it done.
I agree with that. Big thanks to also our mutual friends at EOS. EOS Impact was a dream. It was a vision. Hey, let's get out the right authors out in the world. And so we are getting those books out in the world. Mark, you're one of the top people that we're publishing all year in terms of the EOS Impact. So thank you to EOS, and thank you to Mark and even Gino. That's how I met you, through Rocket Fuel. Get both of those books, folks, and you will be blessed. Thanks, Mark, for joining us today.
Thanks, Gary. Bye, everybody.